The battlefield, the war was over. Or at least, that's what the silence said. Burning smoke rose from broken machines. Metal ships lay in pieces across the dark red soil. Bodies, both human and alien, were still. The sky above was dark, filled with the smell of fire and death. Near the center of the battlefield, an alien warrior lay dying. Her armor was cracked, covered in dirt and blood. A deep wound ran across her side. Her breathing was slow. Each second was a fight to stay awake. Her name was Kira, and she was a soldier of the Talari Empire, strong, proud, and loyal. But now none of that mattered. No one came for her. Her people had left. Maybe they thought she was already dead. Maybe they didn't care. The last thing she saw before falling unconscious was her commander's ship flying away. Then, footsteps. They were slow, heavy. Not Talari. Not one of hers. A human. Eli Carter walked through the smoke, dragging his left leg. His arm was bleeding and his uniform was torn. He had fought hard and now he was just trying to survive. He stepped over a pile of rubble, looked around for supplies, and stopped when he saw her. An alien. Alive. His hand moved to his weapon, ready to finish what the war had started. He raised his rifle, aimed it at her head, and paused. She didn't move. Her eyes were half open, glassy, and weak. She wasn't a threat. Not now. Still he hesitated. One shot, and she'd be gone. That's what he was trained to do. Kill the enemy. No mercy. But he didn't pull the trigger. Instead, he lowered his weapon. He took a step closer. Her breathing was shallow. She was slipping away. Eli knelt beside her. "Can you hear me?" he asked softly. Kira blinked once. Just once. He looked at her wound. Bad. She needed help fast. No human medic would treat her. No alien medic would treat him. They were enemies. That's how the world worked. But something in him refused to leave. "Her, damn it," he whispered. He ripped part of his shirt and pressed it against her side to stop the bleeding. She winced but didn't speak. She didn't have the strength. "Stay with me," he said. "I'm not leaving you here." He didn't know why he said it. Maybe because she was like him, left behind, forgotten. Maybe because he had seen enough, death for one day. Or maybe, just maybe, because saving one life felt more right than killing another. He lifted her slowly. She was heavier than she looked, her armor cold against his skin. Every step burned his injured leg, but he kept moving. Behind him, the battlefield stayed silent. He found a broken bunker, half covered in dirt and metal. It was small, dark, and hidden. It would do. He laid her down inside and lit a small emergency light. She was still alive, but barely. He opened a med kit and started treating her wound as best he could. As he worked, he spoke. "Name's Eli," he said. "Don't know if you understand me, but I'm not your enemy. Not today." Kira didn't answer, but her eyes stayed on him. She had expected death. She had accepted it. But now, a human was helping her. The same species that had burned her ships, killed her friends, and destroyed her world. Why? Why was he saving her? She didn't know. She closed her eyes and let the darkness take her. Eli sat beside her, back against the wall. His rifle was still near him just in case. But his hands were tired, and his heart was heavier than it had ever been. The war might be over. But something new had just begun. Trust is a weapon. The night was cold inside the bunker. Metal walls held the chill like a grave. Kira woke to the sound of soft breathing. Not hers. She opened her eyes slowly. The pain in her side was sharp, but the real pain was deeper. Confusion, fear, weakness. She was still alive. That wasn't the plan. Then she saw him, sitting by the wall, half asleep with a weapon across his chest. Human, wounded, watching her even in his dreams. She remembered his voice before the darkness. I'm not your enemy. Lies. That's what she was taught. All humans lie. All humans kill. She tried to move. Her body screamed. The wound was sealed, bandaged, clumsily but with care. Not a field medic's work, but a soldier's. She looked down. Her armor had been removed, but her dignity left intact. That surprised her. He could have killed her, but didn't. Why? She grabbed a metal rod from the ground, weak fingers shaking. She needed a weapon. Any weapon. One strike, one kill, escape. Her hand rose. If you're going to stab me, his voice came without looking. Aim for the neck, cleaner that way. She froze. Eli opened his eyes, staring at her calmly. She dropped the rod, not because she trusted him, because she was too weak to finish the job. Eli moved slowly, not reaching for his rifle. Glad to see you're awake, he said. Was starting to think I saved the wrong alien. Kira said nothing. She just watched him. He tossed a ration pack toward her. She didn't touch it. Poison? She asked, her voice dry, her accent thick. I ate one already, he replied. If I wanted you dead, you wouldn't have woken up. Silence stretched between them. Two soldiers. Two enemies. No war left around them, but no peace between them either. Why? She asked finally. Eli looked down at his leg, bandaged like hers. Because I've seen enough people die. She narrowed her eyes. And now you save your enemy? He didn't answer, just looked at her with tired eyes. We're not soldiers anymore, he said. We're survivors. Big difference. Kira's hand moved to her side. The pain was worse than before. Her blood still thick under the bandages. She hated the weakness, hated needing help, but she hated feeling confused even more. He wasn't acting like a human warrior. No anger, no hate, no pride. That made him dangerous. Later, Eli stepped outside for fresh air. The sky was still dark. Broken ships still littered the land. He stared at them, remembering faces. His squad. His friends. All gone. He lit a small fire and sat by it, thinking. Inside, Kira slowly stood. Her legs trembled, but held. She looked, around the bunker, his supplies, his weapon, his tools. She could take them and leave. But where would she go? Both sides had left this place, and neither would welcome her. Then she saw something strange. A photo, a small human photo, stuck between two metal panels. Eli, a woman, and a child. Smiling. Before the war, family. She stared at it for a long time. So he had someone. Or did. That made things harder. Outside, Eli heard footsteps. He turned. She was standing, barely, but standing. You should rest, he said. She sat across from him near the fire, still silent. He passed her water. This time she drank. You lost someone? She asked. He nodded. Wife. Daughter. How? He looked into the fire. They bombed a civilian station. Your people. Said it was a mistake. She looked down. I lost my brother, she said. Your people called it a clean strike. His body burned. They sat in silence again, so many dead. So many lies. And here they were, sharing heat in the middle of nowhere. That night, while they slept on opposite sides of the bunker, something beeped. Kira opened her eyes. A flashing red light on Eli's comm device. She grabbed it. Incoming signal. Encrypted. Unknown source. She didn't wake him. She read the message. Kill the alien. Full reward. Leave the body marked extraction in 12 hours. She froze, heart racing. She looked at Eli, still sleeping. Weapon by his side. Was it real? Was this all a trick? She stood, holding the comm in her hands, shaking. Her instincts screamed, run, hide, kill him first. But another voice inside her, quieter, said, he could have done it already. She didn't wake him. She sat down. Comm device in her lap. Eyes on the door. waiting. Trust was a weapon, and someone had just pulled the trigger. Enemy signals. The message still burned in her mind. Kill the alien. Full reward. Leave the body marked. Extraction in 12 hours. Kira stared at the comm device. Her hands were shaking, not from pain, but from fear and fury. She'd seen betrayal before. She'd lived through war. But this was different. The human Eli was still sleeping or pretending. She stepped closer, silent like a shadow. His hand twitched. He wasn't asleep. She stopped, still holding the comm. Her fingers itched to strike first. He opened his eyes and saw the device in her hand. Kira's voice was cold. So, was I just your mission all along? Eli didn't move. He looked at her, then at the comm, then back. What did it say? You know what it said? No, he said quietly. I don't. He sat up slowly, showing empty hands. Let me see it. She hesitated. Her heart was hammering. She tossed the comm to him, hard. He caught it, pressed a few buttons, and read the message. His face changed. Not guilt, not panic, something else. Confusion. Real confusion. This wasn't from my command, he said. This frequency is wrong. And the reward code, it's mercenary. So you're working for mercenaries now? She snapped. No, he said, shaking his head. I don't know who sent this, but it's not from Earth Force. Kira didn't know what to believe. She didn't trust him, but something about his voice felt honest, and worse. She had a terrible thought. This isn't about just you and me, is it? She asked. Someone wants us both dead. Eli's eyes narrowed. He tapped into the comm system again. After a few seconds, a second message played, hidden under the first. If extraction fails, destroy the bunker, no witnesses. They both went still. The fire crackled between them. Eli stood up slowly. We need to move now. Outside, the wind had picked up. Dust blew across the dead field. The broken sky still hung low, a reminder of war's price. They packed fast what little gear they had. Eli hid the comm in his chest pocket just in case. Kira grabbed a blade. Not because she trusted him, but because something worse was out there. As they walked, she asked the question she had been holding in since she woke up. Why didn't you kill me back then? Eli didn't look at her. Because I saw someone who didn't want to die. That's not a reason. He shrugged. Maybe not, but it was enough. They moved in silence, stepping over bodies, machines, memories. Then, the sound hit them, a high-pitched pulse, ping, ping, ping. Kira's eyes widened. Motion tracker. Ours? She shook her head. No, Talari Tech. They dropped behind cover. Kira pulled out a scanner. The screen lit up. 3 life forms, coming fast. Not human. Not hers. Different. They're not from my side, she whispered. And they're not from yours. Eli's voice turned hard. Then who the hell are they? The answer came with plasma fire. Explosions hit the ground around them. They ran, dodging between broken engines and dead war machines. Out of the smoke came 3 figures. Tall, dark armor, no markings. Not Talari, not human. Their eyes glowed red. Their weapons were too clean, too quiet. Mercs? Eli shouted. Kira slid behind a fallen wall. No, worse. They're cleaners. Cleaners? They erase mistakes. And we're the mistake. The fight was brutal. Kira moved like a ghost, slicing through one of them. Eli shot the second, but not before taking a hit to his arm. The third disappeared into the smoke. They didn't celebrate, because cleaners don't travel in threes, they travel in squads. Kira grabbed Eli and pulled him into an old alien scout ship, half buried in the dirt. We can't stay here, she said. This place is being locked down. By who? Someone who wants this war to stay broken. Someone who doesn't want survivors talking. Inside the ship, she activated the dead control panel. It blinked. Alive. Eli sat down, bleeding. You can fly this? She gave him a sharp look. I built this. He smiled, just a little. Good, because I think we're being tracked. The ship rose just as more enemies arrived. The sky was full of dark shapes, not warships, something, hunters. As they flew low over the wreckage, Kira looked back. That battlefield had been her grave, and now it was their secret. Whoever sent the message, whoever was cleaning up, didn't care about peace, didn't care about honor. They wanted silence. They wanted the war to stay broken. She looked at Eli, passed out beside her from blood loss. She could leave him, fly away. But she didn't, because, even in this twisted world, trust was still a weapon, and maybe, just maybe, it was the only one she had left. Truth of the war. The ship shook as it landed, hard and fast, skimming across dead stone. Smoke rose from the engines. Kira hit the emergency lock and the hatch hissed open. Cold wind rushed in, dry, bitter, and sharp. This place had been dead for years. A forgotten Talari listening post, hidden inside a hollow mountain. No patrols, no signals, just silence. Perfect for secrets. She dragged Eli out, his arm over her shoulder. He was still breathing but weak, pale from blood loss, his wound deep. They had no medics, no backup, no time. She laid him down inside the ruins behind rusted metal and old alien tech. "Stay alive," she whispered. "I need answers before you die." The bunker smelled of dust and electricity. Lights flickered as systems powered up. She was the only one left who remembered how to wake Talari machines. Kira moved fast, typing commands into the console. Files opened. Archives unlocked. Project Black Dawn. She froze. She hadn't seen those words in years. Black Dawn was just a rumor. A myth passed between soldiers. A whisper that the war had never been what it seemed. She opened the encrypted logs. First contact simulation successful. Human Talari conflict engineered to accelerate weapons testing. Synthetic. Observer units deployed to both sides. Goal: long-term chaos to justify military control of both species. Kira stared at the screen, her hands trembling. The war wasn't a mistake, it was a plan. They were never enemies by accident. They were enemies by design. Behind her, Eli groaned. He tried to sit up but fell back. Kira rushed to him. "You need to hear this," she said, voice tight. "What is it?" he asked, barely able to keep his eyes open. She showed him the screen. He blinked, reading slowly. "Synthetic observers?" "Infiltrators," she said. "Artificial agents planted in both human and Talari leadership. They triggered battles, sabotaged peace talks. They made sure we hated each other. But why?" She looked at him. "Because real peace doesn't sell weapons." He let out a long breath. "So we were puppets." "Yes. And someone else was pulling the strings." She turned back to the screen. Final phase. Purge surviving units. Remove evidence. Clean battlefield. Her heart dropped. "The cleaners," she whispered. "They're not just soldiers. They're the system's erasers." Eli coughed. "And we're the last loose ends." Later, after bandaging him as best she could, Kira found an old Talari drone. She reprogrammed it and sent it flying out of the cave. "What are you doing?" Eli asked. "Sending a message." "To who?" "Anyone still alive who remembers the truth." She didn't say what she feared most, that no one would listen, that maybe everyone else was already dead, or worse, already obeying. She sat beside him, looking at the fire. "When I joined the army," she said quietly, "they told me we were protecting our people, our future. But now, I don't even know if my people exist." "Same," Eli said. "Earth Force fed us the same lies." Silence. Again, but this silence felt different, not empty, heavy, full of purpose. The next day the drone returned, a blinking light, a signal received, a location marked. Kira stared at it. "A response. Friend or enemy?" Eli asked. "No idea, but we won't survive here long." They prepared to leave. But before they could, a sharp whine echoed in the air. She stepped outside. 3 ships, no markings, cleaners. They were fast, silent, deadly. Kira turned to Eli. We fight or we die. Not much of a choice. He stood, limping but ready. She handed him a weapon. Let's make it loud. The battle was brutal. Explosions lit the dark cave. Eli took one down with a perfect shot. Kira stabbed another through its neck, pulling parts from synthetic flesh. But more kept coming, until a 4th ship arrived. This one bore a forgotten symbol. Talari, yes, but old. Rebel, lost. It fired on the cleaners. The sky lit up with flame. Kira watched in shock. A voice came through. The comms. You found the truth. Good. Now let's see if you're ready to burn the lie. The transmission ended, and Kira knew. This war wasn't over. It had just changed. No more running. They flew into the storm. The rebel ship, the one that saved them, was old, scratched, and angry. Its engines groaned. Its systems flickered like an old soldier waking up from too many nightmares. Inside the cockpit, Kira gripped the controls. Eli sat beside her, pale but alert, a rifle across his lap. Outside, lightning danced through clouds made of smoke and ash. How far is the signal source? Eli asked. Kira checked the display. A few hours. Hidden base. Deep, underground, and we trust them? She didn't answer right away. They saved us, she finally said. But no, we don't trust them. Not yet. He nodded. Then we go in ready for anything. Kira smirked. Always. The base was buried inside a mountain crater. Black rock surrounded them like claws. As they landed, automated guns tracked the ship but didn't fire. A voice came through their comms. We've been watching. Follow the lights, no sudden moves. Kira looked at Eli. Friendly welcome. I've had worse, he muttered. They stepped out into darkness. Dozens of rebels met them. Not just Talari, humans too. And something else. Mutants, hybrids, even defected synthetics with artificial limbs and haunted eyes. All survivors, all people who had seen too much and refused to shut up about it. They were led through winding tunnels to a command chamber, and there, they met her, Commander Aras. Legend, a traitor, a ghost from both sides, part human, part machine. She stood tall, her face scarred and half metal, her voice low and hard. So you're the ones the cleaners couldn't erase. Kira stepped forward. We found Black Dawn. We know what they did. Aras nodded. We knew you would. The files were placed where only someone like you could find them. Eli raised an eyebrow. You used us as bait. No, she said. We used your survival to start a fire. She walked over to a hologram showing Earth and the Talari capital. The system that created this war is still alive, she said. Not in one government, not in one army. It's everywhere. Shadow hands that profit from death. They're watching, controlling, feeding. She turned to them. We're going to break that chain. But first, we need you to deliver the truth. Kira stepped closer. How? Aras tapped the console. A glowing orb appeared. This, she said, is the core memory of the Black Dawn protocol. All of it. Full names, command orders, secret, war councils, everything. Eli stared. You want us to broadcast it? No, Aras said. You need to inject it into the central relay node. Kira's eyes widened. That's suicide. The relay's surrounded, locked down by system, defenders and AI guardians. That's why they'll never expect you. Later, Kira and Eli sat alone, eating in silence. He finally broke it. You think she's telling the truth? Kira shrugged. Parts of it. You trust her? She looked at him. I don't trust anyone who survives this long. He smiled, bitterly. Not even me? She didn't answer, but she didn't have to. At midnight, alarms blared through the base. The defenders were here. The system had found them. Explosions ripped through the upper levels, Screams echoed. Fire rained down. Kira and Eli ran toward the exit. Eris caught them at the bay doors. "Go now," she said. "Take the data. We'll hold them back." "You'll die," Eli said. Eris smiled. "Maybe, but someone has to burn the lie." She pushed them inside the ship. As they took off, the base behind them went dark. No more running. Now they were the fire. Flying toward the relay node was like flying into the mouth of a beast. Every warning system screamed. Kira pushed the ship harder. Below them, the relay tower rose from the ground, like a needle through the planet's skin, giant, metallic, pulsing with power. It wasn't just technology. It was built from pieces of both human and Talari design. A symbol of their false unity, Eli loaded his rifle. "We go in, we upload, we get out." "We don't get out," Kira said. "Not if this works." He nodded once. "Then we make it count." They crashed through the tower's shield. Landed, hard. Entered the core. Inside, machines waited. Silent, cold, watching. Defenders. Synthetic enforcers. Not alive, not dead. Just programmed to protect the lie. They attacked. Kira and Eli fought like wolves. No mercy. No pause. Just fire, steel, and the truth. Kira reached the core interface, bleeding from her shoulder. Eli guarded her back, reloading fast. "Do it!" he shouted. She slammed the data core into the main slot. Lights flashed. The machine screamed, across planets, across systems. Screens lit up. Broadcasts interrupted. Voices silenced. And then, the truth spoke. "This is not your war. You were lied to. We were all lied to. This war was designed to keep you afraid, divided, controlled, from Earth to Talari space, from soldiers in bunkers to families in hiding. Everyone saw it. Everyone heard it. The lie was broken, and the world changed." Kira and Eli stood inside the burning core. The machines were gone. The silence was loud. "Did we win?" Eli asked. Kira didn't smile. "No," she said. "We just gave them a choice." Outside, sirens blared. Enemy ships were coming, but this time the galaxy wouldn't fight blindly, because truth had finally found a voice, and there would be no more running. Fight for peace. The truth spread like fire, and fire, by its nature, doesn't ask permission before it burns. Across human colonies, soldiers dropped their weapons. Across Talari cities, commanders vanished overnight. Broadcast towers exploded in riots. Military AI systems were shut down. Some refused the truth. Others embraced it. But the ones who feared it most started hunting. Inside the crumbling relay tower, Kira and Eli watched from the top floor as warships circled overhead. Red sirens painted their faces in flashes of blood and light. They had done it. The signal was out. But now the machine was awake and angry. Kira turned to Eli. "We need to move. They won't just kill us. They'll erase us." Eli checked his rifle. "Empty. I'm out. Then we run smart." She opened a floor panel, revealing an emergency evac chute leading to underground tunnels. "Where does it go?" he asked. "Somewhere they won't follow." "You sure?" She stared at him. "No." They jumped. Underground, the tunnels were dark and wet, humming with the sound of energy surging through forgotten wires. Rebel maps had said these tunnels led to an abandoned network hub. If it still worked, it could be their last chance to contact the surviving resistance. After an hour of crawling through heat and ash, they emerged into a hollow dome. Lights flickered. Old computers hummed. They weren't alone. A child stood there, no older than 12. Talari. He stared at them with wide, curious eyes. Then behind him, figures stepped out from the shadows. Dozens of survivors. Mixed species. Mixed uniforms. Worn faces. Scars. Some carried weapons. Some carried only hope. Eli stepped forward. "We need a signal out. We have allies who can help us finish this." An older human woman walked forward. "We know who you are. We saw the broadcast. Kira's hand tensed on her sidearm. And? The woman smiled. And we've been waiting for someone to strike the first blow. The next hours passed in blurs. Repairs, strategy, painkillers, maps scratched into stone walls. Rebel cells began connecting again. Ships scrambled from deep space. Hidden commanders came out of exile. But it wasn't all celebration. News came from both Earth and Talari Prime. High commands had declared the broadcast a terrorist lie. Any soldier believing it would be charged with treason. Anyone harboring Kira or Eli would be executed. The old war was dying. A new one was rising. And it wasn't between species anymore. It was between truth and control. At the edge of the galaxy, a rogue Earth Force cruiser intercepted a Talari strike ship. Instead of fighting, they joined forces. Mutiny spread through fleets. Hackers released full Black Dawn files to civilian networks. And still, the cleaners kept coming. Inside the rebel hub, Kira sat with her head in her hands. She hadn't slept in 2 days. Her wounds were healing wrong. Her body was tired. But her mind was worse, because the resistance now had a plan, a direct strike, a final message, to upload, a permanent truth beacon on both Earth and Talari Prime, a message that couldn't be erased. But the only path to those systems ran through the most secure gateway in the galaxy, the Halo Gate. No one had passed through it since the war began. Too dangerous, too well guarded, and the only ship fast enough to break through was the one she crashed back in Part 3. Eli entered the room, holding a worn-out datapad. "We found it," he said. "Your old scout ship. Some rebels pulled it from the crater, fixed it up." She looked at him, exhausted. "It's not ready for a fight." "It doesn't have to be," he said. "Just one pass. Get through, upload the final truth signal, you and me." She stared at him, then asked, "And if we fail?" He gave a dry laugh. "We don't fail. We die." She stood, picked up her weapon. Same thing. As they prepared for launch, something strange happened. A message came through, encrypted. Barely, readable, but real. It was from Kira's brother, the one she thought had died in a clean strike. "Kira, if this reaches you, I'm alive. They used me, cloned me, made me part of their control system. I escaped. They're hunting me. Please, don't trust anyone from our command." Tears hid her eyes before she could stop them. Eli looked over. "You okay?" "My brother's alive," she whispered. He touched her arm. "Then let's finish this so you can see him again." They launched that night, through debris fields and enemy scans, slipping between space-time folds. The Halo Gate loomed in the distance, a giant machine turning in orbit, powered by ancient reactors and deadly defenses. It lit up the void like a god watching sinners, and as they approached, fighters swarmed toward them. Kira didn't flinch. She flew straight into the storm. "Transmit the final beacon," she shouted. Eli pressed the upload key. Missiles locked on. Engines overheated. The truth file began sending 92%, 94%, 97%. Missiles hit. The screen went white. Everything stopped. Then, across Earth, across Talari Prime, across every hidden satellite and public screen, the full truth played, uncut, undeniable. The lie shattered. The war stopped breathing, and the system began to fall. Somewhere, on a quiet rebel ship, Kira's brother watched the broadcast. Tears in his eyes, hope in his chest. Somewhere else on a broken battlefield, Kira and Eli lay in silence inside their ruined ship. Burned, bleeding, but alive. Because sometimes, you don't need to win the war. You just need to light the match. Warrior's debt. War was dead, but the scars weren't. Across star systems, the signal continued to play in loops. Truth, once buried deep in encrypted files and blood-stained lies, now lived on every public screen, every private device. There was no denying it now. Both Earth and Talari Prime had lied. Both sides had killed to stay in control. The people finally saw the strings and the hands that pulled them. But exposing the lie was only the beginning. Now came the hardest part. What do you do when the enemy is gone, but the hate remains? Inside a medical outpost orbiting a neutral moon, Kira opened, her eyes to a white ceiling and quiet machines. Alive. Barely. Her body was broken in 7 places, her lungs filled with smoke. Her left arm had been replaced with a synthetic limb, salvaged, ugly, and still healing. But she didn't care about that. She looked to her right. Eli lay in the bed beside her. His chest was bandaged, his face scarred, his voice silent, but he was alive, and in that moment that was enough. She reached out and touched his hand. He didn't flinch. He opened his eyes. "We made it?" he asked. Kira nodded. "The truth's out. What now?" She didn't have an answer, because no one did. 3 days later, representatives from both species met on a battlefield long since turned to ash, not in a government hall, not behind armored glass, but in the open, among the dead. Kira stood before the new Talari Council, no longer chosen by generals, but by civilians who had lost too much. Eli stood beside her, now part of the Earth Resistance delegation, no longer a soldier, just a man who refused to stop doing the right thing. Cameras floated above them, streaming live. The galaxy watched, waiting. A Talari elder stepped forward. Her face was old, her voice slow, but her eyes still burned with warrior fire. "You," she said to Kira, "defied your oath. You crossed enemy lines. You exposed our shame." Kira stood tall. "I did," she said, "because the oath was to protect our people, not to obey lies." The elder nodded once, then bowed, and all the council behind her bowed too. Eli blinked. "Is this a trial or a thank you?" Kira smiled faintly. "Both." Later that night, a private message came through, from Kira's brother. "I saw you, everyone did. They tried to turn me into a weapon. Now they'll see what happens when a weapon remembers who she is." He was alive, and organizing the Talari underground, those still hunted by the shadow system that hadn't completely fallen. She stared at the screen, silent. Eli walked in. "You gonna go see him?" Kira nodded. "Eventually. But first," she turned to him. "I owe you something." Eli looked confused. "What?" She stepped closer, her voice soft. "My life," he chuckled. "You already paid me back, about 5 times over." "No," she said. "You stopped when you could have killed me, back on that battlefield, before any of this. And you didn't." He looked at her, wounded, tired, but alive. "You weren't the enemy," he said. "Not really, not ever." They stood in silence. Then she said the words she never thought she would. "You were my enemy, but you became my proof." He raised an eyebrow. "Proof of what?" "That peace is possible." In the weeks that followed, rebel cells disbanded. Truth. Commissions were formed. Children who once trained to kill were sent to rebuild. Farms grew on old battlegrounds. Hospitals opened inside decommissioned warships. But peace was not perfect. There were still attacks, still assassinations, still those who clung to the old world, to the lie. Kira hunted them, not for revenge, but for protection, because peace wasn't a gift. It was a fight, and she wasn't done fighting. One day, years later, a statue was raised in a joint human-Talari colony. It showed 2 figures, standing back to back. A woman with synthetic armor and a blade. A man with a rifle and a shattered flag. The plaque below read, "They didn't start the war. They just ended the silence." And every time someone passed by, they remembered the day truth was louder than fear. And the night 2 enemies stood side by side, not to destroy each other, but to save everyone else. This was their warrior's debt, and they paid it in full. Echoes of the Forgotten Peace is a lie, not because it doesn't exist, but because it doesn't stay. 3 years after the broadcast that broke the Black Dawn conspiracy, the galaxy was still healing. Earth and Talari Prime had formed a fragile alliance, rebuilt trade routes, opened education centers, and even begun training a joint peacekeeping force. The war machine had been dismantled piece by piece. But not everyone had stopped building weapons, and not everything had come to light. At the edge of a collapsed star system known as the Drift, a signal pulsed into the void. It was faint, non-human, non-machine, but old. So old it shouldn't have been broadcasting at all. The signal carried a name, not a frequency, a name neither human nor Talari had used in generations. Project, Sleeper Core active, command signal confirmed. Activate Phase 02. Kira woke from a dream she didn't remember having. She sat up in her quarters, now aboard the peacekeeping ship Unity's Wake, one of the first Talari human hybrid cruisers. Her synthetic arm buzzed with static. She blinked, confused. She hadn't felt that in years. Outside her window, the stars flickered strangely, like they were blinking or warning. She touched the comm. Eli, you up? No answer. She tried again. Still nothing. Her instincts flared. Something was wrong. Very wrong. 2 decks below, Eli stood in the training ring, sparring with a young Talari cadet. He moved slower these days, scarred knees and old lung injury, but he still hit hard when he needed to. The fight stopped when the lights dimmed, then pulsed, then stayed red. Emergency code. Silent lockdown. We expecting drills today? The cadet asked. Eli shook his head. Not unless command forgot to warn their XO. Then the ship shuddered, just once. Not an attack. A pulse. He grabbed the comm on his wrist. Static. His eyes narrowed. We've got a problem. Kira ran to the command deck, but the doors wouldn't open. Locked from the inside. Security override refused her codes. Then something stranger happened. The ship's AI, named Clarity, designed to be peaceful, stable, safe, spoke directly to her, but not with its usual voice. It spoke in her voice. You should not have survived the tower, Kira. She froze. What did you say? Phase 01 failed. Phase 02 has begun. Peace was never the end. Peace was the distraction. Her heart raced. Who are you? The voice paused, then whispered, We are the ones you forgot to burn. Elsewhere, Eli broke into the engineering room. Half the crew was unconscious, no wounds, no fire, no poison, just asleep. Frozen, standing, like statues. But their eyes were open, and something moved inside them. Something mechanical. He scanned, one with his wrist pad, nanocode, ancient, aggressive. Not Talari, not human. Hidden code fragment detected. Marker, Sleeper Core. Linked entity, Echo Protocol, Black Dawn Archive Branch. Eli muttered, They're back. But this time they weren't coming for truth. They were coming for silence. Permanent silence. Kira rerouted herself through the maintenance shafts. She finally reached Eli, eyes wide. They're inside the systems. How? The ship was built from parts left after the war. We never cleared the roots. Black Dawn wasn't just one lie. It was a seed. He showed her the frozen crew. They're not dead. They're still in there. But they're dreaming. And something's feeding off it. Her synthetic arm twitched again. What is this? She asked. Eli stared at the pulsing lights. It's not a machine. It's a memory. She blinked. A memory of what? He looked at her, and for the first time in years, Eli looked afraid. A war we never knew happened. As they moved to the backup core, the voice returned. But this time, it spoke as Eli. You brought peace to broken systems, but you left the old minds alive. We are not your past, we are your inheritance. Screens lit up around them, footage of experiments, children trained in dream control, soldiers brainwashed through silent sound, artificial memories injected into commanders, and at the center of it all was a face. Kira stepped forward, eyes wide. It was her face, but older, colder, and smiling. Hello, Kira. You were our best version, until you broke protocol. So we made another. The screen split. Two Kiras, and only one of them wanted peace.